Many people spend years working toward success. They build careers, reach important milestones, and create lives that look stable and accomplished from the outside. Yet for many, something unexpected appears once those achievements arrive. Instead of the fulfillment they imagined, there can be a quiet sense of emptiness. Nothing is necessarily wrong, at least on the surface. Life may actually be going well. But the feeling of satisfaction they thought success would bring never fully settles in. Many people carry this experience silently, assuming they should feel grateful, while privately wondering why achievement hasn't brought the sense of completion they expected. What many people do not realize is that success is often pursued through a nervous system that has learned to operate in pressure. From a young age, achievement is frequently connected with approval, safety, and belonging. Performing well at school, reaching goals, improving competence become ways the body learns to secure stability in the world. Over time, this pattern can become deeply embedded in the nervous system. Achievement stops being just something we do. It quietly becomes something we rely on. The nervous system begins to associate effort, striving, and productivity with a sense of control. Staying busy feels safer than slowing down. Progress becomes reassuring, providing a familiar sense of stability. Movement toward the next goal creates a feeling of forward momentum that the body interprets as security. But when success is pursued primarily through pressure and effort, something important is often missing. The body itself is rarely included in the process. Many high achievers spend years functioning in a subtle state of activation. The nervous system stays oriented toward the next problem to solve, the next opportunity to pursue, or the next level to reach. This state can produce impressive results. It can generate careers, businesses, and accomplishments that look very successful from the outside. Yet internally, the system never fully shifts out of effort. When success finally arrives, the nervous system does not automatically transition into fulfillment. Instead, it continues operating in the same pattern that created the achievement in the first place. The body remains oriented toward what comes next. In this state, satisfaction has difficulty settling. The mind may recognize that something meaningful has been accomplished, but the nervous system is still organized around movement, pressure, and improvement. Rest can feel unfamiliar and even a bit unsettling. Slowing down can even feel uncomfortable, pushing us back toward activity. Without realizing it, many people have built an identity around achievement itself. Success becomes the structure that holds the sense of self together. The moment the external goal is reached, the internal system begins searching for the next one. Not because more is necessarily needed, but because the body has learned to feel stable through striving. When this pattern continues for long enough, it can create a strange experience. Life may be objectively successful, but internally, the nervous system has never learned how to fully receive what has already been created. This dynamic becomes much easier to understand when we look at how it appears in everyday life. One of the most common experiences people describe is the feeling of reaching an important milestone and then being surprised by how quickly the satisfaction fades. Someone might work for years toward a promotion, the launch of a business, financial stability, or recognition in their field. The goal may represent years of dedication and effort, yet when it finally happens, the moment of fulfillment can be brief. There may be a short period of excitement, perhaps a few days or weeks, and then something unexpected appears. The mind begins moving toward the next objective. The body feels restless again. Instead of settling into the achievement, attention shifts forward. What's next becomes the dominant orientation. Many people assume this is simply ambition, and in some ways it is. But underneath that forward movement, there can also be a nervous system that has never learned how to pause inside success. For someone whose identity has been built around achievement, stillness can feel unfamiliar. If progress has been the main source of safety and validation, the absence of a new challenge can create subtle discomfort. The nervous system begins searching for the next task simply to restore the familiar sense of movement. Another place this appears is in the inability to fully enjoy moments that should feel meaningful. A person may achieve financial stability after years of stress, yet instead of feeling secure, their body continues scanning for potential threats. They worry about losing what they have built. They stay mentally occupied with strategies, planning, or improvement. Externally, life has changed, sometimes quite significantly. Internally, the nervous system is still organized around survival. This is why some people discover that even after achieving what they once dreamed of, their internal experience of life does not shift as much as they expected. The conditions have improved, but the body is still operating with the same patterns of vigilance and pressure. This pattern also appears in how people relate to rest. For many high achievers, slowing down can feel surprisingly uncomfortable. When the body begins to relax, thoughts about productivity quickly arise. There may be a subtle sense that time is being wasted or that something important should be happening. Even during moments of success, the nervous system may continue pushing toward activity. The body has become accustomed to effort. Another common experience is the feeling that fulfillment always seems to exist somewhere just ahead. People often say things like these following common reflections. I'll relax once this project is finished. I'll feel better once I reach the next level. I just need to get through this phase. But when the next milestone arrives, the same pattern repeats. A new target appears almost immediately. The nervous system keeps orienting toward the future. Over time, this can create a quiet sense of exhaustion. Not necessarily because someone is working too much, but because the body has rarely experienced life outside of pressure. Even positive achievements become part of a cycle of striving, completion, and renewed striving. The nervous system never quite learns how to settle into what has already been created. This dynamic can also affect relationships and the sense of purpose in life. When achievement becomes the central organizing structure of identity, other areas of life can begin to feel secondary. Relationships may receive attention only after work is complete. Personal interests may be postponed indefinitely. The present moment becomes something that is passed through on the way to the next objective. Over time, this can lead to a strange contradiction. From the outside, a person's life may appear full and successful, but internally they may feel disconnected from the very life they worked so hard to build. The deeper issue is not success itself. Success itself is not the problem, it's how we approach it. The difficulty is that the nervous system has been trained to pursue life through pressure rather than through presence. When that pattern remains unchanged, even meaningful achievements may struggle to produce the sense of fulfillment people originally hoped they would bring. The important insight here is that the emptiness many people feel after success is not a personal failure, and it is not a sign that something is wrong with them. It is often a sign that the nervous system has spent years learning how to achieve, but very little time learning how to receive. Most systems of success focus almost entirely on doing more, improving performance, or setting larger goals. These approaches can produce impressive results, but they rarely address the internal state from which those results are created. From a somatic perspective, fulfillment does not arise simply from external accomplishment. It appears when the nervous system is able to relax enough to actually experience what is already present. When the body is constantly organized around pressure and forward movement, the capacity to feel satisfaction becomes limited. Achievement may increase, but the ability to rest inside that achievement does not necessarily grow at the same pace. As the nervous system becomes more regulated, something subtle begins to change. The body no longer needs to organize life entirely around striving. Attention becomes less focused on what is missing and more able to settle into what is here. Success can still exist, but it stops being the primary source of identity or safety. Instead of constantly moving toward the next objective, the system begins to experience moments of completion. Simple experiences begin to feel more substantial. A conversation, a walk, a quiet moment at the end of the day can register more fully in the body. The sense of fulfillment people once hoped success would create begins to emerge through presence rather than accumulation. From this perspective, success itself is not rejected. It simply stops carrying the responsibility of providing our sense of worth or completeness. Achievement can then become something different. It becomes an expression of creativity, contribution, or curiosity rather than a constant attempt to stabilize identity. When the nervous system learns how to feel safe without constant pressure, fulfillment no longer waits at the end of the next goal. It begins to appear within the life that is already here. At this point, it can be helpful to pause for a moment and bring attention back into the body. Much of our relationship with success has been shaped through years of striving, effort, and forward movement. The nervous system becomes accustomed to orienting life around what comes next. Progress itself becomes a familiar sensation in the body. The feeling of achievement becomes a reassuring anchor. Because of this, the idea of fulfillment existing in the present moment can feel unusual at first. So, rather than thinking about this concept intellectually, it can be helpful to notice what happens directly in the body. For a moment, imagine that nothing more needs to be achieved in order for you to feel complete. Imagine that the next milestone, the next level, or the next accomplishment is not required for your life to have meaning. Simply notice the body's response. For some people, this thought brings a sense of relief. There can be a softening in the chest, a deeper breath, or a feeling that the constant pressure to prove something can finally begin to relax. For others, the reaction may be different. The body might feel uneasy or restless. There may be a subtle sense that something important is missing without the presence of the next goal. Both responses are completely natural. They simply reveal how deeply the nervous system has learned to associate safety and identity with achievement. Recognizing this pattern is not about abandoning ambition or losing the desire to create meaningful things in the world. It is about seeing how the body has learned to organize life around striving and how that pattern shapes our experience of fulfillment. As awareness of this dynamic grows, something gradually becomes possible. Success can still exist, appearing subtly in the background of our lives. Goals can still be pursued. Creativity and contribution can still unfold. But the nervous system begins to discover that fulfillment does not depend entirely on what comes next. Instead, it begins to appear through the capacity to actually experience the life that is already here. And in many ways, that shift quietly changes the entire relationship we have with success. This perspective is part of what I call the somatic path, understanding how the state of the body quietly shapes the life we experience. When the nervous system begins to relax out of constant striving, success can take on a very different meaning. If this conversation resonates with you, you can subscribe for future videos or continue with the next one where we explore why high achievers often burn out.
Hi, it's Jim Daunt. My new book, The Somatic Path, is now available on Amazon. Go check it out. Also, if you're interested in some free ebooks, either check the links in the description or my website, jimdaunt.com.